The April Fool's event is still going on, eh? What is it, the middle of May? It's been a while since the game's been updated. Anyway, welcome back to another Mechanical Ascension X video. No, it has not been nearly 2 months since my last upload. Also, apologies for background noise in this video. It's warm outside and my window's open and, you know, cars exist. So, you know, this video is going to be going over speed setups and the 3 different types of speed setup you can make. The early game, the late game pre-ascension, and the late game post-ascension. So, let's get into it. Starting with the early game. Now, the early game consists of the Lucius Luster as your speed item. So, what you want to do is have this thing and have it placed after a Minty Mishap. The Minty Mishap is an item that will make your ore very slippery and also not work well with ramps, so keep that in mind when using this item. Apparently I can't spell receiver correctly. So, you want to have a receiver set up so your ore is perfectly centered. You want to place a sender here and just use whatever mine is your best mine. For this example, I am going to be using a stone mine, but you should definitely use your most valuable mine for this. And then your ore will get propelled forward pretty quickly, actually. And then you want to use, your best MPU upgraders. This is basically standard for every setup. You want to go for your items that have the highest MPU at the beginning. But do pay attention to item effects, like this right here, the Prismatic Holidays. It makes my ore frozen. So that means if my ore was to be set on fire now, it would not like that. And the ore would commit death. So, I'm just going to build a standard high MPU line for my items. This is not representative of what a early game player will have. This is just an example of what type of setup you should be building, which is basically using all your items that have high MPU. And I don't know where to go from here. Oh yeah, I forgot I have this item. So, you just build, just set up. And once you hit the corner, which will happen in just a second. Oh, it doesn't think make my ore bubbly? Yes, that's not a good idea. Where are my items going? At the early game, it doesn't matter the order you use upgraders. It just matters what the MPU at this point. Later in the speed setups, I'm going to go over the order you should use upgraders as well. Alright, so then, once you reach a turn, you're going to want to use another luster to keep the ore speed up. You can use up to 5 lusters, which is pretty helpful. And it should help you maintain the speed of the item as you go down another line of upgraders. You can do this for as many lusters as you have, and that's basically the gist of early game speed setups. It's basically Minty Mishap and Lucius Luster with turns. And let's just use a basic furnace to prove how much the ore is worth now. Where are my ores? They're worth about that much. That was the multiplier from this line of upgraders that I just happen to have. And it's very similar to what you could possibly get at a early life, minus the prestige items. You just replace them with other high MP upgraders, and you could probably get something similar to this, although not quite the same. But that's basically the gist of early game speed setups. Luster turns. Minty Mishap followed by a Luxius Luster, and a Luxius Luster after each turn. Now let's move on to the late game. Pre-ascension. This revolves around rocket fuel refineries. Once again, you're probably going to want to use a Minty Mishap to keep the speed up as much as possible. The start is very similar to a Luxius Luster start. You want to use teleporters. Again, I'm just going to use a stone mine example. You should optimally be using your highest value mine. And you're going to want to use more than one rocket fuel. You're going to want to use like 2. If you're really creative, you can try 3, but just be warned that these things reduce upgrader strength by 10% each. So you're going to want to be extra careful using these. And once again, it's high MPU. However, at this point, you're going to want to look into buff graders. Now, a buff grader is a type of item that buffs other items. Like this thing right here gives extra multiplier to damage. This gives extra multiplier to poison. This gives extra multiplier to fuel-based items. This gives extra multiplier to voided. This gives extra multiplier to melody. This is extra multiplier to charge, and you get the thing. You want to have all your buff graders at the beginning of your setup to use as much of their buff as possible. I don't think Duck Apocalypse is the one that gives nostalgic, really? That's how that works? Okay. I mean, I will not question that. But anyway, once you have all of your buff graders placed down, you'll want to use a turn. However, unlike the Luster line, you don't need another rocket fuel engine here, as the velocity is still going strong at this point. Since I don't have enough room to actually fit any upgraders here, I'm going to use a couple of basic conveyors. You optimally will want to go for your high MPU items still, because at this point, high MPU is important. You want to try and get as much multiplier for the space that you're using. And at this point, it's just the same as early game. Use your high MPU items, get as much multiplier out of your space as possible. And yeah, that's basically the gist of the basically just all speed setups is just to maximize your MPU. Again, I'm going to use a basic furnace just for example. You should ideally use your best furnace. And DE. And the ore takes, what is it, a few seconds to reach it? Yeah, it's only like 2 to 3 seconds to reach the furnace from the mine. That is pretty effective. However, this is not the true endgame. The true endgame involves palinopsias, after images, and dimensional postcards. So we're going to move to that right away. And this is actually the first one where you don't need a Minty Mishap. Even though Minty Mishap is not too hard to get. So what you want to do after teleport this time is use a dimensional postcard. This will give your after image frictionless after image, making it basically last forever. And at this point in the game, you're going to want to use Palinopsia followed by 4 after images for the maximal speed. Look at how fast that ore is going. It just goes. It just sends it. And just like before, you're going to want to use your buff graders at the start. So that's actually a buff grader, surprisingly. Black Pearl buff grader. Forbidden Song. Electro Charge or Ultra Charge or whatever the blooming non-ultra is called of it. Tartarus if you're using blaster items. Duck Apocalypse, Nostalgic buff. Carnival Bloom, very important. Poison buff. I said poison buff. Draconic Chance, good if using chance items. Everything Bagel, probably going to be very good for Avoided. If you're using Frozen, definitely use one of the things that has Arctic on it. I just use a Ultra because I have it. Apparently I'm not searching a buff grader correctly. This thing buffs Bubbly. No, is it both is that the thing that buffs Bubbly? I don't even remember anymore. But basically, just use your buff graders here. And your ore goes really quick. And the best part is, I believe you can even combine this with the Luxia Luster to make it even faster. Actually, you cannot. That actually slows it down. So you can't actually use this with After Image. So ignore what I said about that. I was wrong. Alright, now then, the difference between these setups at this point is that after you get your buff graders down, you can actually use an all macro enhancer. It's a pretty good MPU. You want to get down the item you get from Ascension, which is the what's it called? Crucible of Omniscience. You want to get that down, and then you're going to want to look for items that have high multipliers. My favorite items to use are the two godly items. The godly, they're flawless. What am I talking about? It's not called godly, it's called flawless. Then I want to grab the two anniversary cakes. The Omniversal and the other one. The Collectionary Corruption. Confectionary Corruption. God damn it. And I will put a Manic Sacranity in between it, as this thing gets some absolutely bonkers multipliers from all of this. And after that I want to put a Anachronistic, because this is what I like to do, is put the Anachronistic followed directly by Torai Gate. Because Manic Sacranity gives Candy Bleed, and that can be pretty detrimental for your setup. And then afterwards I want to use another turn. I'm going to leave a gap here so I can actually use another one of my Tulong upgraders that are pretty good. If I can find them. Yeah, like the Ore Wiggler. I'm going to use the Ore Wiggler here. Then I'm going to attach some portables to the side of this to maximize space efficiency. And I should have enough room here for the Trickster's Master Plan. Yes, I do. Can I fit a Miracle in here? No, I actually did not leave enough space on the edge. That's the thing here, you want to leave enough space on the edge to actually be able to use your items, because otherwise you're going to run into an issue like I am. Also, at this point, Crossroads is very useful for turns, and it usually does leave enough space to, you know, use upgraders effectively without running out of space to place them. I can't think of the words there. Like right now, I don't think I can place many items here. Besides like one long upgraders. I'm going to use a basic furnace to see how much this is making. It's making octillions, which is a lot less than before, but that's because the After Image and Palinopsia have huge upgrader debuffs. In fact, now that I'm curious, how much would I be making if I was using 3 After Images instead of the usual 5? I mean, the ore would be slower, yes, but I believe I would also make some more money. I wouldn't be able to tell because the ore is dying. Yeah, that's looking like more, but I would recommend just using 5 because your setup at this point needs to be more efficient. Like, it really just depends on how your setup's cooking. You can use 2 after images or 4. Like, I don't know the true optimal amount. You'd have to figure that out, because I'm not that good at the game. I'm only Prestige 128. You think I know everything about speed meta? No. But that's basically the simple idea of speed setups. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.